Okay, we are officially at 8:30 p.m. My name is Ron. I'm an alcoholic. I'd like to welcome you all here. A quick announcement. We do have a meeting next Saturday, which is Christmas Day Eve. Is that right? It's the day after Christmas, which is Christmas Eve is Friday night, and so Saturday night. And we got a 90% commitment. 90%. I'm talking 90% from 100 there. Bill's in. And a quarter over there. Do I hear 200? To the newcomer in the back. You're speaking next week. So Bill and his wife, a beautiful couple. Really beautiful. One in Al-Anon, one in AA. We're going to do a little mixture there. It'll be fun. It'll be beautiful. It'll be spiritual. We'll have spiritual cronuts. We'll have hot dogs and baked beans. And don't forget, the most important thing is the Cadillac Escalade door prize we have next week, so don't miss that. Anyway, who's our chairperson? Miss Kara is coming up here. Please let's welcome her.
Hello, everybody. My name is Kara. I'm an alcoholic. Hello, everybody. So good to see everybody. This is a 1-hour speaker meeting that meets every Saturday evening at St. Paul's Lutheran Church, 301 North Main Street at 8:30 p.m. in Doylestown, Pennsylvania. Food and fellowship starts at 8 p.m. The business meeting for this group meets every Saturday at 7 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. right here. The purpose of this group is to provide a consistent message of hope and recovery through God reliance and service to others through the practice and teachings of the 12 steps. We record all speakers so that others may benefit from their message of recovery. If you wish not to be recorded, simply ask. This is an open meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. The group would like to welcome everyone, especially newcomers. Is there anyone new or from out of town that would like to introduce themselves with their first name? The Conscious Contact Speaker Group encourages sponsorship. Would anyone with working knowledge of the 12 steps and is willing to sponsor, please raise their hand. Are there any announcements for the good of AA? We have meeting lists and big books on easy terms. Please see me or any home group member after the meeting. If you cannot afford a big book, the Conscious Contact Speaker Group will give you one at no charge. Anyone willing to make donations for the purchase of big books and CDs to help those who can't afford them can put donations in the jar on the table marked Big Book and CD Donations. If you would like a CD of any speaker, past or present, see me or any home group member before or after the meeting. They are available free of charge. Now I've asked Sherry to come up and read the preamble. Come on.
Hi, I'm Sherry, I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Sherry.
A Preamble. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength, and hope with each other that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We're self-supporting with our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organization, or institution. Does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor imposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. I've asked Brian to come up and read the A12 Steps of Recovery.
My name is Brian. I'm an alcoholic. The A12 Steps of Recovery. 1. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3. Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. 4. Made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5. Admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6. We're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. 7. Humbly asked Him to remove our shortcomings. 8. Made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. 9. Made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10. Continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. 11. sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. 12, having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps, we try to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs.
The seventh tradition states every AA group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. At this time, I would like to pass the basket. We have no fees or dues, but we have expenses. The group provides many services. Your donations cover rent, big book, CDs, events, and workshops, etc. There is absolutely no smoking on church property. Please take a moment to silence all cell phones and limit movement during the meeting to avoid distractions. Now, I'd like to introduce a good friend of Conscious Contact speaker. She came all the way from Maryland. Let's welcome Kathy P.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kathy. I'm an alcoholic. Let's see. My sobriety date is June 15th, 2001. I have a home group. I have a sponsor. I sponsor other women in this program, and I'm sober today only because of God's grace and because of the 12-step program of Alcoholics Anonymous. I am a good friend of this home group. I used to come up here quite frequently, but Ron and I were talking about I haven't been here in 5 years. God, the time goes by. It's been a while. So I'll try to explain what it was like and how I got here and what it's like today and not bore you all to tears in the meantime. I grew up in a really normal household, a really normal family like Ozzie and Harriet, really good people, good neighborhood, good schools. My mother and father were married for 49 years. I've got a younger brother and sister, neither of which have any alcoholic or addictive anything. I have a really good family. And I always start out whenever I talk anywhere by saying that, telling you what a good family I had. But it's really not for your benefit, it's for mine. It's to remind me that there's nothing external that I can blame my alcoholism on. This is mine and mine alone. I was born with this thing. I used to hear that a lot when I first got sober, and I never understood that. How are you born an alcoholic? You know, we don't pop out of the womb sucking on JD, you know, so how does that work, right? I figured it out, though. I get it now. The rest of the world, all the muggles out there, they define alcoholism as an inability to stop drinking. You know, Wikipedia, anybody you looked at it, Webster's Dictionary, an inability to stop drinking. But the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous tells me that I'm an alcoholic because I suffer from a spiritual malady. That's how I can say I was born this way, because I've always been broken. I have been broken since conception. I was just different from all the other kids, you know. I can't blame this on my family or my upbringing. There was no broken home. There was no abuse. There's no alcoholism in my family anywhere. I'm it. I don't know how that works, but I don't know. I guess it's got to start somewhere. And I was the lucky one. Hopefully it'll end with me. I remember as a child, though, always feeling alone. I was always alone and I was always afraid. I had no idea that I felt that way then. It was just a constant state. You don't know that you're broken when you're a child, but that was how I always felt. The best way that I can explain to people, the best picture I can paint for you, what it felt like to be me when I was a kid. Do you remember the first time that you had a sleepover at someone's house? A next door neighbor or an aunt or uncle or someplace where you knew you were safe and you were loved and you were cared for and everything was great. You played outside, you came in, you had dinner, you played board games, you watch TV, you make popcorn, everything's great. Until it's time to go to bed. And then it's time to turn the lights out. And then you become very aware of the fact that you are not where you belong. You're not at home. And that's how I felt all the time. Even in my own home, I just did not feel comfortable and didn't know what was wrong with me. As a child, I knew that there was something seriously wrong. I wasn't like the other kids. But I also instinctively knew I couldn't share that with you. I needed to keep that my secret. And I went to great lengths to prove to you that I was okay. My worst fear was that someone would find out I wasn't fabulous, you know? So I had to, do all these things. I had to wear all these masks. You know when you're in school, remember, God, in school, all the cliques that they had? You know, you got the jocks and the freaks and the band people and the science club and the chess club, you know, and the heads. That's what we called the druggies, the potheads. God, I love those guys. They were my favorite. But I didn't fit into any one of those cliques. I fit into all of them. I had to, because I could not stand disapproval. I couldn't stand for you not to like me. So what that meant was I was a big fat actress. I had a lot of masks that I wore, a lot of faces I put on. I had that wonderful chameleon ability, you know, that we have. I can walk into a room and in a matter of minutes I can size you up and I can be you, or who I think you want me to be, so that you'll like me, because I know that if you know who I really am, you won't, because I don't. So I just acted my way through life, making everybody think I was okay, never telling anyone how broken I felt inside or how afraid or alone. I didn't ever tell anybody about the noise in my head. And that would work a little bit of the time if I was just with one person or with one group of people. You know, I had all my jock friends. I was a cheerleader, you know, and I'd be with them and acting all happy and preppy and jockey and annoying. And drop me in a social situation, though, like school cafeteria or school dance or a beach party. That's where we all hung out. And I'd be with one group of people and act in one way, and then up come walking the heads, and they're my friends too. And then which mask do you wear? Which face do you put on? I remember always looking over my shoulder. I was just in a constant state of fear because I knew one of you was going to figure me out for the phony that I was. And I was terrified. And keeping up an act like that is exhausting. Exhausting. I got to tell you, though, I was one of those people that could never sleep. Never, ever sleep. Because I couldn't turn off the noise. Could never turn off. It didn't matter how exhausted I was, physically drained. I could never sleep. I discovered the wonders of alcohol when I was 14 years old. And by the way, I want to apologize up front. I am not from around here. I don't know if you figured out or not, but yeah, and when I get nervous, it gets thicker. So if you need a translator, please raise your hand. One will be provided. Anyway, I was 14 years old, and where I grew up, just north of Boston, you couldn't drive 10 minutes in any direction and not hit water. So we hung out at the beach. We were at the beach all the time, and we would have beach parties, and this was 100 years ago. The cops never bothered us. And I went to a beach party with some older cousins, and they were 16 and 17, and they both drove, and they knew all the hot boys, and I thought they were cool, so I had to have them like me, right? Well, they were drinking, so I decided I was going to get drunk. Made a conscious decision to get drunk. I could have walked around all night long with one beer bottle. Nobody would have known the difference. But I made a conscious decision to get drunk. And I cannot honestly stand up here and tell you that I thought it was going to have any effect on me, that it was going to change anything. I drank to fit in. That was why I did anything, to fit in. How I started smoking. Still got that monkey on my back. But I didn't think the alcohol was really going to change anything or affect me in any way until it did. You know, there was no drinking or alcoholism in my family. I had nothing to compare that to. But when that alcohol hit me for the first time, man, everything changed. It was like nothing was different, but everything changed. I don't know. I didn't know until that moment when the alcohol hit me the first time that I had spent my entire life with a giant fist around my rib cage. And until the alcohol hit me and it released its grip and I could breathe. And I thought, my God, this must be what normal people feel like. You know, the noise. the noise in my head up until that point was deafening. Could not ever sleep. And what the noise was resentment. I would replay and relive every resentment I ever had against anybody. And keep it alive and feed these resentments like they were my children. I would replay fights, from like 5 years ago, trying to change the outcome somehow, or pre-fight fights that hadn't happened yet. Ever do that? Play both roles in the bathroom mirror? I mean, bad shit, right? I was crazy. But I could never turn it off. Ever. I could never stop it. Until the night that the alcohol hit me that first time, and what I was getting was static. It was just white noise. It was peace. That was what I wanted, was just peace and quiet. I think it's really cool that we can talk about the noise in our head in here, but don't do that at work or you'll be eating lunch alone. They just don't get us. But I don't know how to explain it. I hear a lot of people from a lot of podiums talking about how the alcohol hit them the first time, and they got taller and smarter and became better looking and better dancers, and their acne fell off and all that stuff. And I believe that to be true because I hear that from a lot of people, but that wasn't my experience. My experience was I was still short and fat and uncoordinated. But the difference was I didn't care what you thought anymore. It gave me peace. If I found something that made me feel that good, why wouldn't I do it as often as possible, right? But when you're 14, it's not always easy to get your hands on liquor. It's a lot easier to get your hands on all that other stuff that's out there. And so what that really makes me is a garbage head. Anything you got, I'll take. Anything to get me out of me, just for a moment. My one and only love was alcohol, though. That's where it started and that's where it ended. I had a very long affair with Johnny Walker, my good buddy. I did all the things that we do to try and fix ourselves, It talks about it in the big book. I was so happy when I finally read the thing and found out there were other people like me. I tried the geographic relocation thing, that doesn't work. No matter where you go, there you are. You bring you with you, and then the stuff just starts happening all over again. And we find out people, too. Different names, different faces. But it's the same people and the same trouble happens all over again. And then you got to move again. So that didn't work. I tried, the job. The prestige. I had the business cards. I had the company credit card. I was like trucking all over the country, trucking through airports. Business suits, briefcase, and stilettos. Thought I'd arrived, All I really saw of this wonderful country of ours was the inside of airport bars and hotel bars, and I didn't really see anything except the inside of my hotel room drunk. I drank alone. I thought that job would fix me, the prestige and everything, and what it did was it made me more alone, because now I'm traveling all the time and I'm not in any one place long enough to make any connections, and that didn't work. I tried the property stuff, right? My parents have always been happy. They have nice stuff. Maybe I need stuff. I bought a townhouse. I filled it with beautiful furniture and drapes and paintings, and I had all the clothes and all the jewelry and the latest technology, which I think at that point was an 8-track. I had the bitchin' Camaro, I had everything that should have fixed me if stuff is my problem. But stuff doesn't fix us. It's just stuff. It doesn't comfort you when you're scared or alone. And when you're drunk like me, stuff gets old in a minute and then you need new stuff. So that didn't work. By this time, I'm in my late 20s. I'm drinking all the time because I can't stand the noise in my head or the pain in my soul, and I really hate myself because I spent my whole life trying to make the outside look okay, hoping that the inside would match, and it wasn't working, and I didn't know what to do. I'm still keeping in touch with all my friends that I graduated high school with, and like I said, I'm in my late 20s. They're all married up. They found the man of their dreams in college, and they've got houses and kids, and I thought, that's what I need, the guy. Haven't found him yet. A guy is going to fix me. This is how I ended up living in Maryland. I was on a business trip to Baltimore, and I went to a bar, because that's where you meet Mr. Right. And there he was, holding up the wall. And I thought, that's the one. I'm going to marry that one. And I did, 6 months later. I do not recommend that. In the beginning, we drank to celebrate our newfound relationship. We were in love. And then I think we drank to tolerate each other. And then we just drank. And it was really ugly, really quick. I stayed in that marriage 11 years. I look back on it and I try to figure out what it was that attracted me to him to begin with, because he wasn't the most handsome man I ever met. He wasn't the richest or the funniest, if I'm honest, he wasn't even the nicest guy I ever met. I think looking back on it, what it was is that he was a bigger drunk than I was. At that point in my life, I was wicked proud of the fact I could drink any guy I knew under the table. Like that's something to aspire to, right? But not this guy. Man, he started drinking the minute his feet hit the floor in the morning. He was a sun-up to sundown alcoholic. And as long as I was with him, I didn't have to look at me. I didn't have to take my own accountability. He was the alcoholic. He was the reason we couldn't pay our bills. He was the reason we're getting turn-off notices. He was I blamed him for my unhappiness. Like that's anybody else's responsibility. Why would you ever burden anyone with that? I even blame my drinking on him, because I would drink with him and then I would drink at him. Ever do that? Yeah, like my hangover bothered him at all. But I couldn't leave. Very early in that marriage, I knew I made a horrible mistake and I needed to leave and save us both. And I couldn't, because I'm a nice little Irish Catholic girl. My family doesn't take kindly to divorce. And I was living in such self-centered fear, I could not pick up the phone and call my family and say, I made a mistake, I'm leaving. So I had to fix marriage any way I could. And I did what any good drunk would do and had a couple kids. That'll make me happy. Children. I'll be a mommy. Right? Think about what I just said. My kids were born with a job. They were supposed to make me happy, like I was buying a puppy or something, How selfish, how self-centered can you be? My kids were supposed to be responsible for my happiness. How awful. And I would love to stand up here and tell you what a good mom I was, but I'd be lying through my teeth, and I don't have to do that anymore. I was a horrible mother. Horrible. And I can say that and not feel any remorse because of this beautiful program. But I was terrible. I was terrible to those children. They're lucky they didn't die of neglect. I can tell you honestly, before God and all you good people, my children have never seen me drink. And God willing, I hope they never do. Because, see, I thought that's what you do. A good mom doesn't drink in front of her kids. But don't think a day went by that they didn't suffer from the effects of my alcoholism. Because, see, I couldn't drink in front of them, so what that made them was in my way. And I was chasing them out of my way all the time. I would wake up wherever I had passed out from the night before. Usually they would wake me up, and always with a bottle of Motrin in their hands. These kids could barely read or write. And they knew what a migraine was. They knew when not to bother Mom. And I'd throw clothes on them, stuff oatmeal cookies in their pockets and call that breakfast, because oatmeal's a breakfast food, and push them on the bus and get back to my real job, taking care of me. See, because when I hurt, I can't see you. They would come home from school and I'd chase them outside to go play. You need fresh air. But what it really was is Mom needs a drink while she's cooking dinner. And then it would be, come inside, wash your hands, eat your dinner, do your homework, take a bath, go to bed. And I would chase them to bed way before they needed to go to bed. And see, kids get older and they get smarter and they learn how to tell time. And they would be like, really, Mom? It's 6 o'clock. It's still light out. And my response to that, well, try to consider myself a lady. I don't talk like that anymore. But I would curse at them and I would chase them down the hallway with a hairbrush. And that's who I turn into. That's what this does to me. I have this one horrible memory that I'll share with you, and then I promise I'll move on. I was doing dishes one night. The dishwasher had broken, and I was washing utensils and things and putting them away, and my little daughter playing quietly by my feet. And I don't even think she was talking to me. She was just playing with her toys, and I was putting things away, And I dried something, and I reached over her head to put it away. And when I reached, she ducked. There's only one reason kids duck. I didn't want to be that mom. Nobody wants to be that mom. But that's what this does to me. I can't see you when I hurt. And honestly, I don't care who I have to run over to get what I need, you know? My children were afraid of me. I finally left that man after 11 years. And I can't even say that I left for the right reasons. You know, I still wasn't looking at me. I left that man because I was going to save my kids from the alcoholic. You know, I didn't want my kids to grow up like him. And I got this dingy little basement apartment, and I could only afford a 2-bedroom, and I've got a son and a daughter, and so I let them have the bedrooms. I figured kids need their privacy, and I slept on the couch for 5 years, and that's the only decent thing I did for my kids. I'm not trying to exonerate myself. That's usually where I pass out anyway. But the thing is, I had all these delusions of grandeur. We do that, right? We think everything's going to be different, everything's going to change. And I pictured myself the good mom. I'm going to sign them up for Little League. I'm going to go to their games. I'm going to go on their field trips at school. I pictured myself playing board games with them. You know, I'm going to be the good mom now. But the thing is, we all have the best intentions. We're not judged on our intentions. We're judged on our actions. And the truth is, I still wasn't spending any time with them. Because the apartment complex I moved into, there were other single mothers, and they had teenage daughters. And I had a babysitter in there every night. And I'm off to the races. I got no one to be accountable to. And so my kids went from, you know, mom they were afraid of to absent mom. And my kids are being raised by other kids. And it just started all over again. And I'm drunk. I'm either drunk or hungover. It's a vicious cycle, you know. But I have to drink every night because I have to pass out. That's the only way I get any rest, you know. And it was just a nightmare. Luckily, God stepped in at this point. God intervened in the form of 2 state troopers. And I got arrested, DUI. Can't tell you anything about it. I was in a blackout. I'm a blackout drinker. I black out every time I drink. I thought everyone did. I mean, that's the point, right? If you don't black out, it wasn't fun. It was a Wednesday night, and I remember the kids were with their dad that night, and I went to a bar from work. I'm a nurse. Show up to the bar in my scrubs, stethoscope around my neck. Impressive, right? And I remember leaving the bar at 12:30. That's the last thing I remember, walking out to my car. Then I went into a blackout, and when I come out of the blackout, it's 4:30 in the morning, and I'm handcuffed to a chair in the state police barracks, and I'm being interrogated by these 2 troopers, and have no idea how I got there. And I just knew I was in trouble. I'm in a whole world of trouble here. But being the good drunk that I am, I kind of assumed that they had driven me there, judging by the pretty metal bracelets, you know? So I asked them, where's my car? And one of them yelled at me. He was Troopa Hoopa. I will never forget that man. He was so mean to me. But he yelled at me and he said, I already told you 4 times your car was undrivable after the accident. We had it towed. And my heart just kind of stopped because I didn't remember an accident. I didn't appear to be injured. I didn't know what I hit or who I hit. I just knew I was in trouble. So I shut up. This was 20 years ago. Luckily, up until that point, I was squeaky clean. I never even had a parking ticket. And things were handled a lot differently back then, and they just kind of processed me, and they let me go on my own recognizance. But that was my wake-up call. And let me make it very clear it had nothing to do with that arrest. Arrest doesn't scare us, you know. Death doesn't scare us. I could have died. I could have killed somebody else. Death doesn't scare us at all. No, what it was, I hit a bottom that night, a spiritual bottom. Just a death in my soul. And what it was when they finished my paperwork. They processed me, they handed me my paperwork, and then they pushed the phone across the desk. And they said, call someone to come and get you. We're not driving you home. And I stared at that phone for what felt like an eternity because I knew I had no one to call. I burnt every bridge. I had no friends at all. What little family I have is up in Massachusetts. Certainly not going to call the ex-husband to come and get me. I mean, I was screwed. I didn't know what I was going to do. The only thing I did have in my purse was an employee list. All the people that I work with, all their names and numbers. You know, for like snow days when you open late, you all call each other. You know, it's like a big tree. I called all 35 people that I work with at 5 o'clock in the morning, begging someone to please come and get me. And one woman finally took pity on me, and she did. And I just knew that something had to change. I wanted to stop hurting, and I couldn't live this way anymore. And I was not sure I was an alcoholic. I just wanted to stop hurting. But I went home, and there was the Yellow Pages sitting on the coffee table, and I opened it to A, and there was our number. And I called the AA hotline. And the woman, this is how crazy I was, all right? I called the AA hotline, and I'm sobbing into the phone. I think I have a drinking problem. And she's like, oh, you poor thing. What's your name? I thought this was anonymous. You know? Because I was so sick and twisted, I thought that she knew my ex, and she was going to rat me out. You know? I mean, that's how damaged I was. But I ended up calling back, and she got me to a meeting near my house. And that day, a couple hours later. And I'll tell you, I thought that was the end of my life. I thought that was the worst day of my life. My life is over. I am never going to have fun again. Never going to laugh. Can't go to bars. Can't go to parties. Not going to meet guys, you know. I don't know what I thought I was missing. There was none of that going on anyway. But I thought that my life was done. If I had only known then what I know now, how everything in my life was about to change dramatically and everything was going to get better, man, I'd have gotten sober decades ago. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I went to that meeting, and I was so hungover. And I thought I was in the wrong place. Have you ever, and I know why I think that, have you ever seen anything in the movies or on television, anything program related? It's always a dimly lit basement, and there's like a circle of folding chairs, and the people sitting in them look like they want to die, right? I thought that's what AA was. And I walked into this church, and it's a big, brightly lit room like this, and there's like 50 people, and they're all drinking coffee and eating cookies and donuts, and they're all telling jokes and laughing, and I'm like, church function, wrong place, you know? And I almost walked out. Luckily, they spotted me as a newcomer. I don't know how. I wasn't really into hygiene at that point in my life. You know, I just like slap on more war paint and bulletproof the hair and out the door. And I reeked like a brewery. And they were like, honey, you're home. Come back. I can't tell you a whole lot about that meeting. But I can tell you what happened after. They were so nice to me. They were so kind in that meeting. I remember that. I remember how they made me feel. They made me feel welcome. They made me feel loved. And they gave me a big book, and they all wrote their names and numbers in it, which I thought was super nice. Never called any of them, but I thought that was nice. But nothing major happened at the meeting itself. When I went home, though, and I was thinking about that meeting and the hour that I spent there with them, I had a major epiphany. I realized that the hour I spent in that meeting, my head was quiet. That had never happened sober, only drunk. I didn't know what it was. I still don't know what it is. I don't know why it had that effect on me. Maybe it was the message I heard from the speaker. Maybe it was that I was in a room full of my own people and I didn't have to wear masks anymore. Or maybe it was God I felt in the room. Or maybe it was all of the above. I don't know. I don't care. I felt better when I left than I did when I went in. And the same has held true until today. I always feel better when I leave a meeting than I did when I went in. I don't know. God lives here. But they told me to keep coming back, and I did. And I didn't do anything right initially. I didn't get a home group. I didn't get a sponsor. I didn't do the steps. I didn't read the big book. I did nothing. Everybody was giving me these solid suggestions. And please don't use me as an example. Use me as horrible warning. Because what that meant was that I was dry. I mean, I was so dry. I was crispy. I was dry. It hurt when the wind blew, you know. I was awful. You guys took away my solution. You know, you took away the only thing that made it okay to breathe. And I was a mess. And I didn't trust any of you. I thought that anybody that would be nice to me was just wanted something. Because that's how I saw you. You know, if you didn't have anything I wanted, I didn't waste my time on you. So I thought that that's how you saw me. And there were these 3 old guys that sat in the back, though, these old timers. God bless them. I miss them. They're all dead now. But those guys saved my life. They told me the truth. They weren't always kind. I mean, they were a little harsh with me. But they told me what I needed to hear and not what I wanted to hear, you know, and I appreciated that. And they knew I wasn't doing anything. They knew all I was doing was showing up and drinking coffee and smoking cigarettes. And they were like, you need a sponsor. You need to get with the sponsor. And they kept pointing to this woman. And they're like, you need to get with her and work this program. She's killing this thing. And I'm like, ain't going to happen. Hate her. Cannot stand that woman. And the reason I hated her was because she was so happy, like nauseatingly happy. She made me want to puke every time I saw her. So I was like, no, way too invasive. I got this. I read the steps. I got it. You know, I'm good. What it really was, though, I didn't want anything to do with the program because I felt like I had issues that were more important. I know today there's nothing more important than my recovery. If I lose my recovery, I lose everything else. But at that point in time, I had some serious issues. I had money issues, and not just owing people money issues. We all have that when we get here. No one gets here on a winning streak. What it was okay, let's break this down. I had 2 lawyers I'm paying for. I got a divorce attorney that I'm paying for because we're not divorced yet. I've got a defense attorney for the DUI. Can't have them both do the same thing because they specialize, right? And they both want their money up front. So I'm paying these 2 lawyers. I had to pay to fix my car, the one that I totaled, because I had let my car insurance lapse. I had more important things to do with my money than pay bills. I don't have any money coming in. Oh, I had to pay to replace the telephone pole I took out. They don't tell you have to replace those, but apparently you do. I've got all this money going out, right? And I've got nothing coming in but my little paycheck. And I'm raising 2 children on my own. He's not giving me any child support because we haven't been to court yet. Judge hasn't told him what to pay, so he's giving me nothing. And I'm having a hard time feeding these kids. Like groceries are difficult. You know, I'm hitting the church basements and stuff and grabbing canned goods and that kind of thing. I'm paying my bills, my utilities, by the red notices. Which one's going to be turned off first? You know, I'm borrowing from Peter to pay Paul. You know, we've all been through that. But that's not the biggest issue. The thing that's killing me, the thing that's keeping me up at night, is the fact that Christmas is in 3 weeks. And I can't afford a tree, let alone put anything under it. And I don't know how to tell these 2 beautiful kids that Santa's not coming this year. And I'm kind of grateful for that experience now in hindsight, because that was the first time that I ever realized how my drinking was hurting somebody else other than me. But I didn't know what to do, and I was completely losing it. And I went to a meeting one night, and I'm sitting with my little old dudes in the back, and I'm crying and telling them what's going, you know, having a pity party the way we do. And one of them said to me, honey, have you prayed about it? That's what I need, prayer, right? Yeah, prayer's going to help me. I need cash. Do you know anybody with money? Does that sponsor lady have money? You know, can you hook me up? And he's just shaking his head like, oh, you poor thing, you just don't get it. And he said, you know, mortal man cannot perform miracles. Only God can do that. I suggest you go home and hit your knees. And I really didn't think that would work. But I didn't have any other solution. So I tried. I went home and I got on my knees and I made sure the cat wasn't in the room so he wouldn't watch. And I prayed. And I said, I think the first honest prayer I ever said in my life. I said, God, please spare my kids. They don't deserve this. Please spare my kids. And that was all I said. And I said that prayer 200,000 times. And about 10 days went by and nothing happened. And by now I'm ready to open a vein, right? And I pull into work one morning and I'm supposed to be opening the place, right? I work in a doctor's office. I never did figure that out. Alcoholic, DUI, I have the keys to the place. There's medicine inside. I don't know. Anyway, I pull into work and I'm supposed to open and it's 7:30 and there's nobody there and I'm supposed to be the only car in the parking lot and there's 3 cars waiting for me. And I got out of my car and these 3 women got out of their cars and they all started walking towards me and I didn't know who they were. One of them I kind of vaguely recognized, but the other 2 I had no idea who they were. And they said, "Could you come over? We'd like you to look at our cars." Their cars were full. They bought Christmas for us. Their cars were full of stuffed animals and games and toys and videos and books. They bought snow parkas and ski pants and boots, scarves and mittens. They bought stockings full of candy. They even gave me a little envelope with some cash inside so I could go buy a tree. And I was like, who are you people? The woman that I recognized was one of us. She was in AA. And the other 2 were her mother and sister. And they were so grateful for getting her back that they wanted to pay AA back. And of course, we're self-supporting of our own contribution and wouldn't take their money. So this is what they did. Every year at Christmas, they bought Christmas for a needy family. And that year they chose us. And I grabbed that woman and I hugged her and I cried all over. I got mascara all over. And I just tried to thank her. I kept saying, "Thank you. You have no idea what this means to me." And she said, "You can't thank me. I was in your shoes once and this was done for me." And I'm like, "All right, fine. I'm going to pay you back though." Every red cent. And she said, No. You haven't been around long enough. You don't understand how it works in AA. We don't pay it back. We pay it forward. Keep doing what you're doing. Work a program. When God's ready, He'll put someone in your path. And it'll be your turn. And then you can pay it forward. And let me tell you, my feet did not hit the floor the rest of that day. Those beautiful women were showing me how to live according to spiritual principles, and I don't even know if they were aware of it because they just naturally lived that way, But 2 important things happened that day. One was that my faith in humanity was restored because I forgot that you're all good and kind and loving people and just want to help. Because I was so bitter and broken, I couldn't see you. But the other thing that happened was that my faith in God was restored. I asked God to spare my kids, and He did. I didn't ask for anything for me. I just asked Him to spare my kids, There was nothing under that tree that year with my name on it, and I swear I was the richest woman in the world just looking at their faces. I knew who those 3 women were. They were the answer to a drunk's prayer. And I didn't know what you had, but I knew I wanted it. I missed it somewhere. And I dove into this program as soon as Christmas was over. I am so sorry. I used to blame this on menopause. I'm past that. I don't know what it is. I guess it's gratitude. I went back to my home group and I asked that annoying, nauseatingly happy woman to be my sponsor. And she introduced me to the world of AA. And, oh my God, she was wonderful. She taught me everything. She took me through AA history. She took me through the book, through the steps, through the traditions. She gave me a solid foundation. And I watched her. And I watched how she lived. Because I don't trust words. Never did. Still don't. Words are words. I know lots of words. I can lay it on really thick, so I know you can too. I don't listen to what people say. I watch their feet. I want to see if their actions are backing up what their mouth is selling. And I thought, there's no way this woman is sober. She's smoking something out in the parking lot, and she's not telling us, And I tried to catch her. Oh my God, I tried to catch her. I went to her house for step work the first time, and I excused myself and asked if I could use her bathroom. And I went through her medicine chest. I didn't want to take anything. I wanted to see what she was on, And all I found was Tylenol. So apparently that's what serenity looks like. And then I had to apologize. But the reason that I didn't want her to be my sponsor, the nauseatingly happy thing. This is how God works in my life. Every meeting that I went to for like 2 weeks straight, every single meeting, the topic was sponsorship and the importance of getting someone who had what you wanted. I didn't need a sponsor who had a fancy house or clothes or jewelry or a handsome husband or a bitchin' Camaro. I had all that. It didn't fix me. This woman was happy, and I didn't know happy. And God put the absolute perfect sponsor in my life. She saved me. She introduced me to a God that I was afraid of. I've always believed in God all my life. I've always believed in God. Even when things were at their darkest, I've always believed. But she explained to me that my problem wasn't that I didn't believe. My problem was I had no faith. I hadn't let God into my life. That's why I didn't see Him working in my life. And she taught me how to have faith and how to trust in my higher power. And today I have a wonderful relationship with Him. It did not come overnight. It took some time and work. But how do you get to know somebody, right? You walk up to them and you say, hey, dude, can I have your number? No, you got a sponsor, but I can always use a new friend, right? And you let them know that you want to be their friend, that you want to be a part of their life, you want to know them. And I had to do that with God. She had me do this little, oh my God, it was so stupid. Remember that game, that Where's Waldo thing? You got to find them in the big comic book. She made me play Where's Waldo with God. I had to go through my day looking for God in my life or someone else's, and whenever I saw something that looked like God, I had to shoot her a text and say, Waldo sighting, and then call her that night and tell her what it was, And I thought that was the most juvenile thing I ever heard in my life. I'm like, I can't believe you're making me do this. But the crazy thing was, the more I looked for God, the more I saw Him. And I started seeing Him everywhere and realized that He was always there. It was me that wasn't seeing Him, Things just got better. Everything changed. Again, like that first time I got drunk. Everything changed. Nothing was different, but everything changed. And what happened was nothing on the outside had changed. It was me that had changed. My perception had changed. How I see the world, how I see all of you changed. And life just got good. And life isn't always good. I don't want to be one of those speakers that, and then I got struck sober and then everything was all rainbows and unicorns and, that just doesn't happen. That's not life. Life shows up. Sometimes bad things happen. That's life. That's not God. God doesn't cause the bad things. God gets us through the bad things. But that's just life. And I've had some really bad things happen in recovery. I've lost both my parents in recovery. That's rough. We always think they're immortal and they're always going to be there for us, but they're both gone. Almost 7 years ago, I lost my stepson. He was one of us, and he relapsed and died of a heroin overdose on December 21st, 4 days before Christmas. And that was brutal. Coming up on the anniversary of his death. That was really hard. I've changed how I look at death, though. We were just talking about this before the meeting. I no longer think of death as a bad thing. Death is a part of life. It's part of the cycle of life. No one gets out of this gig alive. We all go home, And I really firmly believe that God wants us all to be happy. And when He sees that we've suffered enough, He calls us home. And my son had a lot of demons. And he suffered. And I know he's not suffering anymore. And I can live with that. I know I'm going to see him again. I've had breast cancer twice in recovery. That was fun. Yeah, it's okay though. Got to keep the girls. They're good. But that changed everything too, because I had so many sponsees, and I called them all and I told them, you need to get a new sponsor. I don't know what's going to happen to me. I might be checking out. I might be going home. Get a new sponsor. And not one of those women left me. Not only did they not fire me, they made sure that I got to my doctor's appointments. They took me to all my radiation treatments. My immune system was shot, so I couldn't go out to meetings, so they brought meetings to me. And the most wonderful thing happened, that line that we draw in the sand, the sponsee thing, was just erased. And I realized that we have one sponsor, and that's God. You know, we're just a room full of drunks trying to help each other. Those women are my sisters, and they're all still in my life today. I'm not bringing up the bad stuff because I want you to think my recovery's been awful. It hasn't. It's been wonderful. I love my life, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. I'm bringing up the bad stuff to make a point, though. Remember when I told you I was little? I was always afraid and alone. Always afraid and alone. I'm not afraid and alone anymore. Ever since I've been in recovery, I have never walked alone. I have a wonderful relationship with my higher power. I walk with him, I talk with him every day. And unfortunately, crazy comes back quickly sometimes. And I have a hard time hearing his voice. And that's when I come here. And he talks to me through you. Like I said, I think that's why I stay so heavily rooted in this program. God lives here. He's in all of you. My recovery's been incredible. There's one thing I have to share with you. We've only got a few minutes left, and I wouldn't feel right if I didn't. This is probably the greatest gift that I've been given in recovery, and I've been given so many, but I want to share this with you. I was about 3.5 years sober, I think. And I ran into my home group late one night and got there when they were already reading the steps and the preamble and stuff. And sat down next to my buddy Danny, and I'm taking inventory. You know how we do that in the meeting? We look around to see who's here and who's not here, who's missing, and, you know, oh, you got a haircut, looks good, or, you know, they're holding hands, they're hooking up, yay, you know. And I'm looking around, and a couple of tables over there's this young girl. I love this girl. I don't really know her that well. I just know her to say hi to her at meetings, you know, but she's tall and thin and blonde, and she's got legs up to her armpits, and she's everything I never was that I always wanted to be, you know. She's early in recovery. She's got like 3 or 4 months, but she's one of these girls that really gets this thing, you know. She's always lit up and happy and grateful to be sober, and every time I see her, she's running around to halfway houses, picking up the women and bringing them to meetings. She's got a little Toyota. It's like a clown car. They're all jumping out, you know. Love this girl. This night, I almost didn't recognize her. She was a train wreck. No makeup on, hair up in a ponytail. She wasn't crying, but it was really obvious she had been. Her eyes are all puffy and her nose is red. And I almost didn't recognize her, so I leaned over to my buddy and I'm like, what's going on over here? You know, should I talk to her? Can I help? And he said, you need to talk to her. Someone needs to talk to her, but I don't think you can help. And I'm like, well, fine, I'll talk to her, but what am I walking into? You know, is it a guy thing? Did she relapse? What's going on? And he said, no, it's not like that. It's nothing like that. He said she's a young single mother. She's got a couple of young kids. She's going through a horrific divorce. She's got no money. She can't even feed her kids. And he said, actually, the home group has like a secret collection going. We're going to go grocery shopping and get some food in the house for those kids. You want in on it? And I'm like, been there. Of course I want in on it, you know. I got to tell you, though, I'm a wicked debit card person. Never carry cash, right? So I pick up my suitcase of a purse, and I'm like rifling through looking for any money that could possibly be in there. Everything's coming out. Hairspray, kids inhaler, you know, and I'm like emptying. And while I'm doing that, he's still talking. Right? And that's when I heard it. He said, that's really not what's killing her. The reason she's crying is because Christmas is in a couple weeks. And my heart stopped. And I knew. I got a friend up in Boston that says that God does not need our permission to use us, and we very seldom know when he is. And I know my friend Danny had no idea God was speaking through him that night, but I've learned to recognize God's voice. And I knew it was my turn to pay it forward. So I gave him what little change I could find, and I said, you take care of the grocery thing, get some food in the house for those kids, I got the other thing, and I bolted. As soon as the meeting was over, I just ran. Never did talk to her. They probably thought I was a real bitch, but, you know, Target was open, had to get there. And I bought everything for those kids that had been bought for mine. You know, all the stuffed animals and puzzles and books and games and videos and ski parkas and snow pants and boots and stockings full of candy, and oh God, I had so much fun. I love spending money on other people. I even gave her a little envelope with some cash in it so she could buy a tree. And I made 100 phone calls and found out where she lived, and I brought everything over the next morning. And God, she came out and she looked at the car, and she just looked at me, and she kept looking at the car and looking at me, and she didn't get it, and I'm such a bitch. I didn't tell her. I just waited till she figured it out. But when she did, it just ran her over, the way it had done me. And she started sobbing, and she grabbed me and she hugged me, and she's trying to thank me. And I'm like, you can't thank me. I was once in your shoes. This was done for me. And then she wanted to pay me back. She wanted to clean my house and do my laundry and stuff. And I'm like, whoa, doesn't work that way, But I was blessed enough to be able to tell her what those 3 women had told me. Keep working your program, doing what you're doing. And one day when you're ready, God will put someone in your path. It'll be your turn to pay it forward. And we smuggled everything in the house. Wished each other Merry Christmas. I still get a Christmas card from her every year. And she has had an opportunity to pay it forward, which was beautiful. But that I just told you was just setting up the gift. That wasn't the gift that I got. This was the gift. When I was driving away, when I was driving home, I was thinking about her and what was going through her head. And I knew what was going through her head. I was her, I know that she thought she got the gift that day. But now I knew what those 3 women knew. That I got the gift. The gift is not in the receiving. The gift is in the giving. That's the only thing we're here for. Take care of each other. You've been trying to tell me that my whole life, and I couldn't hear you because I've been so selfish and so self-centered and so self-absorbed that I could never see you. And I missed out on so much of life. I missed out on so many beautiful people and so many wonderful opportunities. That experience opened my eyes. And it's not the big things. I mean, buying somebody Christmas, that was awesome, but that was a one-shot deal, It's the little things that, hey, we're going out to Friendly's after the meeting. You want to come with? Or, I know you got a sponsor. Can I have your phone number anyway? I can always use a new friend. The little things, letting people know that they care. Let them know that you see them, that they're not alone, that they're at home. I don't know a whole lot about anything. I don't know anything about this program. I am so not qualified to be here. None of us are. We don't know. But I do know one thing. My life in this program has just been amazing. And if you don't feel about your program the way I've been talking about mine, you are missing it. You are selling yourself short. Life is so short. It is to be lived, not just exist. Really live. Get somebody. Get with somebody. One of those happy, shiny, annoying, nauseatingly happy people. Grab onto them, hold onto them like your life depends upon it, because it does. And join us, We're run out of time. Thank you so much for letting me share. God bless you all.
Thank you, Kathy. Let's give Kathy another round of applause. And I am Teresa. I'm an alcoholic. Thank you all for being here tonight. A few little reminders before we close up. Our speakers come here of their own time and expense. It's customary that we form a line and thank our speakers after the meeting, so please join me in doing so tonight. We have a coffee maker, best coffee maker in Pennsylvania, so thank you, Howard. This group has a Facebook page. You can join our Facebook page. You can see local flyers, international flyers, Zoom meetings on there. It's a great way to stay connected. We also have a YouTube channel called the Conscious Contact Speaker Group where you can listen to all of our speakers. We also have some other meetings that go on. Monday nights right here in this church at 6 o'clock. We have a step meeting. We go through steps 1 through 12. So you can find us right here on Mondays at 6. And we also have an Al-Anon meeting Monday nights at 7:30. We have a sister meeting, which meets in Salem Church Thursdays. It's a big book meeting. We go through it line by line. So we will see you there Thursdays at 7:30. And we will see you right here next week on Christmas night. We have a nice way closing. Our Father,
who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Chair's got to stay. Does it stay?
Everything stays. Chair, all things. Everything stays the way it is. Chair.
and we are leaving the chairs tonight, everybody, so just leave everything in place.
Chairs. That was making me cry.
Nick, could you throw some money in for me since I never have any cash?
That's pretty good. AA and Al-Anon speaker combo. I know. Anyway, good stuff. Good stuff. Man, Vicky. I love it.
I think I'll do the after party.